Mom, can you pick me up after the dress fitting? I had asked that morning. She didn't even look up from her phone. Sweetheart, we're at the spa all day. Take a taxi. It was my sister's wedding week, the kind of grand, Instagram-perfect event that my family treated like a royal coronation. I was 16, invisible, and mostly useful for running errands. The sky was overcast when I left the boutique, carrying my sister's wedding veil. I remember thinking how fragile it looked, lace and silk so easily torn. Then the light turned green, and the world exploded into sound. Tires screeched. Metal screamed. My body hit pavement. Pain swallowed everything. When I opened my eyes, bright white lights blurred above me. Voices overlapped. Panic, urgency, confusion. Internal bleeding, someone said. She's a minor. We need consent for surgery. Another voice cut through the noise, sharp and cold. My mother. If it dies, let me know. I don't have time for paperwork. My breath caught it, she said. Not she. Then everything went dark again. Hours? Days? I don't know how long passed. When I woke up, the hospital was quiet. Tubes ran into my arm, and pain throbbed beneath the morphine. A nurse smiled softly. You're lucky, sweetheart. The surgery went well. Your guardian signed off just in time. My guardian? I rasped. She nodded, handing me the clipboard. The words swam into focus. New legal guardian. Followed by a name I never expected. Not my mother. Not my sister. Someone who had every reason to hate my family, but chose to save me instead. The name on the form made my heart stop. Mr. Robert Hale. My mother's estranged brother. My uncle. The man she'd called a disgrace and banned from our house years ago. The nurse continued. He came in furious, shouting at the doctor for even hesitating. Said he didn't care what it cost, just save you. Her voice softened. He stayed here all night. Tears stung my eyes. Uncle Robert hadn't seen me in years, yet he was the only one who came. My mother hadn't called once. Neither had my sister, the bride-to-be, too busy for her broken sibling. When Robert entered the room, I barely recognized him. Older, tired eyes, still wearing his work jacket from his construction company. Hey, kid, he said gently. You gave us all a scare. You signed for me? I whispered. He nodded. Doctors said they needed family. Your mom refused. Said she was getting her nails done. So I told them I'd take responsibility. His voice broke slightly. No child deserves to beg for permission to live. That night, I learned he'd been cut off from the family for calling out my father's fraud years ago, the same fraud that funded my sister's wedding. The next morning, my mother finally arrived, with perfect makeup and zero shame. You've caused enough trouble, she hissed. Robert, undo whatever legal nonsense you signed. She's my daughter. Robert stepped forward, his tone cold. You were her mother. Now you're just a visitor. Her face paled. You can't do this. He met her glare, without blinking. Watch me. That was the first time I saw someone stand up to her, and it changed everything. I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding after that. Mom said it would ruin the aesthetic if I showed up with bruises and a limp. Uncle Robert didn't argue. He just looked at me from across the breakfast table and said, let them have their show. We'll build something real. While my mother hosted the wedding of the year, champagne fountains, gold-trimmed napkins, a string quartet flown in from Italy, I sat in Robert's modest living room, sipping soup and watching snow fall outside. He told me stories about my grandparents, about how this family used to mean something before money poisoned it. Then, a few days later, he dropped a bombshell. Your grandfather's lawyer called, he said. He's changing his will. I froze. Why? Because he found out what your mother did, about refusing surgery. I didn't tell him. Someone at the hospital did. That week, a quiet investigation began. The hospital's internal review flagged her statement as ethical negligence. Word spread fast. My grandfather, a retired judge, summoned my mother to his estate, and she went, panicked. Robert just smiled. She's not used to consequences. Days passed. Then the news broke through the family group chat. Grandfather revised everything. My sister got the house my mother wanted. My father got nothing. And my mother's name was missing entirely. But the shock wasn't that she was disinherited. It was that a large share, and a letter sealed in gold wax, had been assigned to me. And no one in the family knew what it said, except Robert. Robert handed me the envelope a week later, his eyes careful. Your grandfather wanted you to open it when you felt ready. The seal shimmered in the light, deep gold wax pressed with the Hale family crest. My hands trembled as I broke it open. Inside was a short letter, written in my grandfather's precise, old-fashioned script. Elizabeth, when I learned what your mother did, I felt shame, not for you, but for the bloodline that forgot compassion. Your survival was no accident. It was a test of our family's soul, and only one person passed it, Robert. Everything that carries my name and honor will pass to you under his guardianship until you come of age. Do not fear the weight. You are born to carry it with grace, not greed. Never let them make you feel small again. Grandfather. Tears blurred the ink. Robert placed a steady hand on my shoulder. He meant every word. When news of the inheritance reached my mother, chaos erupted. She stormed into Robert's office, screaming about betrayal. You manipulated him. She's a child. She doesn't deserve any of this. Robert didn't flinch. Neither did you deserve her life in your hands. She turned to me, fury trembling in her voice. Elizabeth, give it back. You know your sister needs it more. I met her eyes, calm, steady. She's got your love. I'll take the legacy. That was the first time she realized she couldn't guilt me anymore. From that day, the power dynamic in our family changed forever, quietly, completely, and without a single apology. And my revenge had only just begun. My mother's pride didn't shatter all at once. It cracked, slowly, like porcelain under pressure. The more she fought to control the family, the more the truth spread. Her friends whispered. Her bridge club avoided her. Even my sister, the perfect bride, started to feel the weight of association. Grandfather's decision made headlines in local circles. Former judge cuts off daughter after hospital scandal. It wasn't just gossip, it was humiliation. She tried to fight back legally, but the papers were airtight. Robert had ensured every clause was protected. When the court clerk read aloud that my guardianship and inheritance were final, my mother's expression turned from fury to disbelief. This isn't justice, she spat. No, Robert said softly. It's fairness. At 16, I moved into Robert's countryside home, an old cottage that smelled of cedar and safety. For the first time in my life, meals weren't silent performances. There was laughter. There was care. My sister came by once, wearing designer gilt. Mom's a wreck, she said. She says you ruined her. I looked up from my notebook. I didn't ruin her. I just stopped saving her. She left without replying. Weeks later, Robert handed me another envelope, this one from my grandfather's lawyer. Inside was a transfer of ownership deed for something I didn't even know existed, a small chain of beachfront properties registered under the Hale name. Looks like your grandfather wanted you to start your own chapter, Robert said. And that's when the real story, my story, began. When Robert drove me to the coast to see the properties, I didn't know what to expect. I thought maybe one house, a small cottage at best. But when we turned off the highway and the ocean came into view, endless blue stretching into gold sunlight, I saw it. A private stretch of beach. 3 houses. My name on the deed. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. He left this to me? Robert smiled faintly. He believed peace shouldn't come from money, but from knowing you earned your place. This is yours, Elizabeth. Free and clear. For the next few months, I worked there every weekend. Painting, repairing, restoring what time had worn away. The beach became therapy, my way of reclaiming something I didn't know I'd lost. Then one morning, a black luxury SUV pulled up beside the gate. My mother stepped out, sunglasses on, voice sharp as ever. So this is where the family's fortune went. I didn't respond. She scanned the property. You think sitting on a beach makes you a Hale? You're a child playing rich. I smiled calmly. You're right, but I'm the child who owns the land under your feet. Her face drained of color. Robert joined me on the porch, arms folded. "You're trespassing, Eleanor." She turned, desperate. "Robert, she can't." He pointed toward the sign I'd installed that morning. "Private property. Authorized access only." The irony wasn't lost on her. The woman who'd once refused to sign my surgery papers was now begging to be let onto my land. And this time, I didn't need permission to say no. The silence between us was heavier than the waves crashing behind me. My mother stood at the gate, clutching her designer purse like armor. "Elizabeth," she began, her voice trembling between pride and panic. "You don't understand the pressure I was under. The wedding, the expenses. I did what I had to do." "No," I said quietly. "You did what was easy for you, not what was right." She exhaled sharply. "You think you're better than us now because you inherited a few houses?" "I don't think I'm better," I said, stepping closer. "I just stopped being small." Robert watched silently from the porch, letting me handle it, and that meant more than any defense he could have offered. "Your sister's husband lost his promotion," my mother blurted, desperate now. "Gregory's company found out about the will scandal. Do you know what that's done to our reputation?" "That's not my doing," I replied evenly. "That's cause and effect." Her eyes glistened, a rare hint of vulnerability. "You can't cut us off like this. We're family." I tilted my head. "Family isn't just blood. It's who signs when you're dying on a hospital table." She flinched. That one line pierced deeper than any scream. For the first time, my mother didn't look like a queen or a villain. She just looked small. A woman realizing her power meant nothing outside the lies she built. I turned toward the house. "You should go, Mom. It's getting dark." Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Your grandfather would have hated this." I paused, meeting her eyes one last time. "He's the reason I can finally stand here." And then I closed the gate. Weeks passed after that confrontation, and for the first time in 16 years, silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like peace. No more desperate phone calls. No more guilt-driven obligations. Just the sound of the ocean outside my window and the soft rhythm of waves against the shore that now belonged to me. Robert visited often, usually with groceries or building tools. Together, we rebuilt what had been broken, not just the property, but the sense of belonging I thought I'd lost forever. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, he handed me a folder. "What's this?" I asked. "The final transfer. Everything your grandfather left, the houses, the trust, even the family foundation, now legally in your name." I traced the embossed seal with trembling fingers. "It's real now." Robert smiled. "It's always been real. You just had to survive long enough to see it." That night, I walked barefoot along the shoreline. Every memory, the crash, the hospital, my mother's words, replayed in fragments, but they didn't hurt anymore. They just existed, like distant tides. A message pinged on my phone. "Mom, we're sorry. Can we visit?" I stared at it for a long time, then typed back 2 words, "Maybe someday." Because true revenge wasn't cutting them off. It was living a life so full, so peaceful, that they'd have to live knowing they no longer had control over it. I looked out over my beach, my sanctuary, my inheritance of peace, and whispered to the wind, "I made it, Grandpa." The waves answered softly, like approval carried on salt and light.